All right, welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Hey, we're keeping the show rolling right now. Now we have Optimal Dynamics, OD. You down with ODD?
I'm with ODD. Yeah.
All right, so here we go, Drive Safe Dave. Do the introduction real quick to everybody.
All right, so this is Optimal Dynamics. Let me just tell you a little bit about these two players out here. They're going to tell you a little bit about what it means to have an operating system manage what?
So we're going to automate decisions.
Automate decisions.
Well, hold on a second. That's a lot. We're going to go in there. We're going to optimize these computers, and I'm going to tell you, all right. All the decisions that go on in a day, whether it's 5 trucks, 10 trucks, 1,000 trucks, it's crazy. I mean, how do you make the right decision? I'm saying, you know what? If
best planner ever.
Now, if you're a trucker, if you're out there, you're a trucking company, you're saying, oh, I know how to do it. No, you don't.
No, you really don't. Let me tell you, best planner ever. And I'll tell you, and then all of a sudden you got another planner. Then you got another planner comes along, got his own plan, right? Got his own plan. Look, and I'm going to tell you what I think it is like. So I played a lot of chess, right? I played a lot of chess, and you try to think ahead, and then you get to you play a computer, and it whips you bad because it thinks all of the possible moves way ahead of you, way faster, way better than you ever could. And I think that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about making strategic moves way better than a human could ever do it in a short amount of time, and it changes dramatically minute to minute, right?
Yeah, I think if you think about even a small carrier operation, and you look at load level decisions, and you scale that up every day, a human has a hard time understanding, hey, well, what is the incremental impact of this load 2 days from now on the network? And how is that going to impact this driver 2 days from now? And how is that going to impact their whole tour? And really, it's a math problem. And OD has really stepped in and solved the easy math that can be done by computers. Computers are very bad at solving human problems, right? There's a lot of human problems out there that load planners and customer service managers that really need to engage with the driver as well as the shipper and the carrier itself. But the actual easy math problems of understanding, hey, what does this load mean 2 days from now, and how is that going to help that driver's tour, make it easier for them to get back? That's a math problem. And that's where OD comes in.
That's great.
And with a network, right, it's 1,000 games of chess, or however many trucks you have. Every truck is a game of chess, and we're predicting what's going to happen with that truck 2 days out, 5 days out, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out.
So I hear things when we talk about the, OD, artificial intelligence, whatever, learning software. Does the software really learn? I mean, is it learning on what a trucking company does?
So we're certainly learning from what's happened over time with the network, and that learning means, okay, when are loads going to pop up in your network? Where's the freight going to show up a week from now, 2 weeks from now? And then
better predictability.
When you see a distribution, you don't always have the same transit time, right? So we learn what that distribution is. Wow. So when I make a decision, I don't say the transit time has to be perfect. I actually look and see if it's 8 to 12 hours. I'll simulate that load over that whole distribution and say, you know what, it's going to work, whether it's 8 or whether it's 12. So we can do that learning based on the history that you have in your network.
Wow, that's amazing. And so the software, so now I'm a trucking company, and I'm talking to the 50 truckers, the 10, whatever you are, the 3,000 truck. How is this software, how does your software take a driver, take a company, and try to make the best decision for both of them? Because that trucking company has to make money, right? And that driver's got to get home. Can you create the software that is OD looking at that whole thing and making the best decision that's going to get the driver home and make the company the most money possible?
100%. So whenever we're looking at any decision with a driver, we're trying to maximize that driver's satisfaction with their work. So whether that be from a mileage in the week standpoint, what they're going to get paid, but more and more the question is, when do I get home, right? And how frequently can I get home? So every customer says, can you show me how to set up my network so that I get my drivers home more frequently? So we can actually solve to say, where should drivers be in the network? What loads should we take? Should we accept and put on those drivers to make sure they get home? What relay points should we use to make sure they can turn around and get home and send that load on its way, so that one, they're getting more out of their truck and they're getting more out of their time and getting home more.
And here we are at BCB Live, we focus on safety, and you're already speaking safety when you're talking about the driver's reaction to what's going on here Now we have an opportunity, not only the dispatcher and the driver and everybody involved understand that we're making the best decision possible to get the driver home, and that pressure is lifted off of the driver, knowing that the best software is out there changing the way they do their business every day.
Yeah, I mean, the revenue that is being generated by the solution is being driven by driver satisfaction, right? It's our ability to look into a predictive future, simulate that future, and really all the way down to the driver level to ensure that that driver has their miles, is operating where they want to be operating. So we have the ability to tune those parameters that if a driver wants to operate in a certain area, we can ensure that the optimization takes all of that granularity into the optimization and make it executable.
Wow, so OD, you can take that data, you can make sure that you, the company, are making the most money while keeping that driver satisfied, right? Getting them back home for that important date that they have. It's taking it and kind of giving it that balance that every trucking company needs to have. But it can do so much more, because you bring up something in here, as a trucking industry, we search, right, for more drivers in our industry. That means that, the biggest thing right now, you're not going to find 23, 28 people coming out that want to stay on the road for a month. They want to stay on the road for a day, for 2 days, 3 days tops. Maybe it's just a day. We can take those driver profiles, put them in this, and it can tell you, hey, this is the freight they need to run to take care of them. And meanwhile, it's still taking care of everybody else's needs as well. Is that right?
Right. So you'll see exactly which customers are impacted by changing your network to get a driver home every day. So that might mean we need more drivers in an area, or we need to add more relay points, or we can say, hey, are there other parts of power to your network that you might want to add? Another fleet, owner-operators, other types of ways to service those customers.
It sounds to me like, and as we talk about it, we mention on this show a great deal. We talk about it, productivity. You're actually maximizing productivity, and that driver shortage that we're talking about could be less if we're more productive with what we already have, and you guys are just solving those same problems as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
And you may attract more drivers, right, if you're getting them home every day.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah,
so
reduce your turnover, right, as well.
Retention.
So imagine this. Bring in the right drivers, more drivers that can run a certain lane. Reduce your turnover. Reduce reduce the days that you've had accidents, right? Reducing that number by having drivers, because I think when you have this predictability on the freight side, it's really giving the drivers that same predictability, where I know that I'm going to get back home for that game, because the computer and the system and the integrate, it already knows that I got to be home in 6 days, so it's not going to send me to a location that it's impossible for me to get back home, because it knows I got to have a game in 6 days. And the beauty of what you all do, and this is the part that listen, you can't do this. You have to have a system do this, because it's looking at the entire network on freight that's going back to that person's home, that it may say, hey, drop it here. It doesn't deliver till Monday anyway. And we as humans can't see that for 3 or 4 more days.
And I'll tell you, as a former planner or whatever, I thought I was a great one. Thought I was a good one, but I'll tell you what is exciting to me is, you go down and you plan all these, and then you get to like 3 or 4 and you're working on these. When something changes in the system, it reshovels the whole deck, right? Yeah. And goes back and makes better decisions all the time.
Yeah, so pretty much every 60 seconds the solution is re-optimizing. And I think that's a huge help for when we're looking at a predictive future.
Wow.
It's not so fragile that if one thing changes, everything falls apart. We all understand and remember the optimization days of the 90s, where optimization took three hours to a day to run. OD is consistently looking at, hey, what happens if the driver rejects the load? What happens if this load goes away or didn't show up 2 days from now when we predicted it to?
Is it measuring? Are you able to only do company fleets, or can you do a fleet that has company and owner operators?
Both owner operators. You could even have external power, like you might have a dedicated carrier that's helping you. You might have a spot market option, a spot brokerage option. So all of those options can be considered. You could also have the ability to, check and see what other load opportunities might be available if you wanted to connect your load board in to fill gaps in your network. Right.
So what about the companies? So now we have the companies that have owner operators, company drivers, and now they broker out. Can it help them decide which freight may need to be brokered and which freight needs to be trucked?
Absolutely, Andrew. Yeah. You can
Yeah,
take
so
that.
we're constantly, when we get that load in, we're looking to see, does it fit best on your assets, your drivers, your owner-operators, or does it work better profitably on your brokerage?
Wow.
And so if there's a value to the fleet, we're going to put it on the fleet, but if there's more profit on the brokerage side, we would look to put that to the brokerage side.
Wow, and you know this, right? For the owner, for the companies out there, that the quicker you can get a load out there on the load board, on the brokerage side, the more margin you make on the load as well. That's phenomenal. Safety in trucking. I know we talk about it with getting the drivers home. Dave, I'm going to ask you to kind of hop in here and help me out. What do you hear from this software? What are other things that you think that are creating a safe driver out there, just from what you've heard today?
Well, not only a peace of mind knowing that some of the best decisions are being made on what you're doing every day and what you're doing. You got to have a peace of mind and a trust in this, knowing that this company's doing everything that it can to either get me home or get me to where I need to be, and I don't have to stress out about it, right? Also, I liked about it what you said we're going to put a load on a driver and make them successful on it. Not one they have to rush, not one that they have to hurry on, not one that they have to worry about being late. You've already kind of figured in the stuff, and you know what? This load, this driver's going to be successful on, right? And I think that's important for drivers to know, because they don't want a load that they get constantly that says, you get it and you're like, crap, I'm already late.
Yep.
You know, and how stressful is that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that to that point, you know, the strategic simulation aspect of what OD does is that it allows you to look at customer bids that are coming in and simulate that volume in the network. So, okay, well, if we win this business, how does it affect our current service levels? How does it affect our current network on the asset side? How does it displace our current network? And I think that's a very, very powerful tool to be able to use when you're actually negotiating with a shipper partner on what lanes really make sense for the carrier to win. Because we all know a lot of carriers are look at a bid, they'll get a big award and they'll say, hey, we can take all this freight. Yeah. When in reality, they're stretching themselves to do that. With OD, you're able to simulate that volume in the network, understand what piece of that volume really makes sense for you guys, and drive hard for it. And I think that reinforces to your driver partners that, hey, you guys are going out to win business that really makes sense for them.
Does part of the system have like a red flashing light, so when something actually goes wrong, emergency?
Warning, Will Robinson.
Yeah, does it have any of that action going on inside the system? Like, this is never going to work, but this is the best option we have.
Well, yeah. So there's reality, right? So there's what the solution would recommend, and there's reality that happens, and you have to react to it. You know, the power of simulation, though, is that when you accept a load, let's call it on Monday for a Friday pickup, we're continuously monitoring ELD integrations, visibility integrations.
Oh, nice.
To understand what happens throughout the course of time after you accepted that load.
Because it happens.
Yeah. So we're averting the 11 p.m. call saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to make the window, right? So on Wednesday, we actually send the alert to the load planner and say, hey, there's a 75% chance that this load is going to fail as it's planned.
Yeah.
You may want to do something about it.
Yeah, and you always see how well that load fits your network, right? It could be a 0%, but you have a rule that says, I have to take this load for this guy on assets, right? And then you also know that when you talk about safety of a driver, we've not just made a decision that says, in a perfect world, this driver could take this load. We've simulated a very imperfect world many, many times to say, hey, 95% of the time, no matter what happens, it's going to work for him safely.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Hey, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach out to OD?
Yeah, you can reach us at optimaldynamics.com, and that's the best starting point. You can understand kind of who we are, what we do, but that's the best way to reach us.
Right. I would also suggest, if you're here at the TSA, stop over by their amazing booth they got over there.
Yeah,
it looks like
absolutely.
Hey, it's a TCA. You said TSA twice.
TCA.
You're not at the airport.
TCA. Stop over by their booth. It's like something out of a science fiction movie they got going over there. You'll talk to people over there at your booth, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the high rise.
Yeah, they're
at the
what
high
is
rise.
that's the future right there.
Hey, listen, first of all, thank you for joining us on our
Rick.
show.
Thank you.
It's important that we continue to share the technology in trucking. You know what? We can't be afraid of technology in what we do. This business has pushed to a technology technology business.
Oh, absolutely.
People just can't do everything anymore. You've got to go out and look in the future. You have to learn, and that's where what you do comes into play. Everybody, this is BCB Live. Thank you all so much for being on the show.